Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of the Refuse to Lose podcast. My guest this week needs no introduction. Basketball superstar Paddy Mills is one of Australia's biggest international athletes. He is an NBA champion and currently the longest serving player at the San Antonio Spurs, a club and a city where he has become a cult hero over the past decade. But Paddy is so much more than just a big shot maker. His best work is done off the court where he can exercise his passion for the community. Paddy has recently launched the Team Mills Foundation, which champions culture, diversity, women, underprivileged families, and the environment. Throughout this chat today, we talk about the charity and the work they've been doing both in the US and back here in Australia. We talk about his passion for his Indigenous culture, which stems from his parents. His mother was part of the stolen generation and went on to work for the government in Indigenous rights, while his father did humanitarian work with the United Nations on improving the lives of First Nations people. And of course, we talk basketball as well, the NBA's return from the COVID-19 break, plus his deep desire to get Australia our first ever medal at the Olympics next year. So please enjoy my chat with Paddy Mills. Paddy Mills, welcome to the Refuse to Lose podcast, man. Where do we find you in the world right now?
Mate, we are in some uncertain times at the moment, just kind of hanging out, waiting to hear about what our plans are with the NBA. Hopefully we get some news here shortly about how we can return to play. But at the moment, mate, just hanging out and waiting for the news.
What about the idea of playing in front of no fans? What do you make of that? We just seen the NRL come back here in Australia, no fans. It's a bit different. Basketball's so about the fans and the arena.
Yeah, mate, I was really keen to see the feedback on how the NRL went, and they obviously had the first two rounds in front of no fans either. So it's interesting. I mean, I think it's weird times for everyone. So I think everyone just got to get used to, adapting to the new normal. So if we got to play in front of no fans, well, then that's the case. But, we got to think about our product and the game and the NBA and how we can still manage to be able to make an impact throughout the world. And that's the main thing.
You've won a championship. Obviously, the whole circus around it, the fanfare and all the celebrations. How would this season be different for whoever comes out victorious with all that kind of missing?
Yeah, who knows, mate? Like I said, it's unprecedented times, so no one knows, what will be the after effects about it. But like I said, I think the main point is for us to be able to understand how to look after our game, how to look after our product, and continue to help grow it. First and foremost is everyone's health and making sure everyone is in a position to be able to play and not be affected by the pandemic and health wise. And then after that, it's essentially back to business, back to normal, of rolling the ball out and competing on the floor again, which, I'm definitely missing.
For yourself, man, you've obviously spent your time in isolation and away from the game really well. Tell me about Team Mills and the foundation that you've set up.
Yeah, mate. Quarantine during these times has been tough. Obviously, just staying at home and getting used to being comfy every day and not being able to, shave or get a haircut. But it's really given us the opportunity to dive deep into things that have always been a passion of mine, and really work on executing some of those things. So. There's been a couple of things that we've worked on, and the most recent one has been the launch of the Team Mills Foundation, which is really awesome. I mean, I don't think I can put into words just yet about, how I feel that it's out there and, it's there for the people that need it most, so that we can find ways to be able to help make a positive impact in communities, not only in Australia back home, but throughout the world. And again, it's stuff that, it's nothing new. We've done this for a long time, not only me and my wife, but, other family and friends, and obviously my parents as well. So to be able to have a home base that we can operate out of in terms of giving back is really good.
What's the objective, if you could, encapsulate it in a quick kind of summation of what you want to achieve with the foundation?
Yeah, look, it's based off of six core values, and those six core values are personal values of my own that I've been taught growing up through my culture. So basically, it's a broad spectrum, but for us to be able to make an impact in any one of those areas, project based as well, so that we're able to be creative on how we give back and make sure it's genuinely felt. But that's basically what we are, and everyone that's involved in the team operates with those same core values.
I was reading about it, and a big thing is obviously for you is culture, and I can see behind you there's a Indigenous flag, there's a Torres Strait Islander flag, and you launching this at the time we're recording is a very important week in Australia. It's Reconciliation Week. What does I guess Reconciliation Week mean to you personally? You obviously have a lot of deep family connections, and in some of the work that your parents have done, you mentioned before. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, definitely. It was the idea for the Team Mills Foundation to be able to launch on day one of Reconciliation Week 2020, and also to in line with the theme of Reconciliation Week this year, which is In This Together. And the motto, I guess, that the Team Mills Foundation operates from too, which is all hands in. So when it comes to Reconciliation Week and the opportunities that are out there for to be able to strengthen relationships between non-Indigenous and Indigenous people, that's what it means to me. I think personally, the journey that I've gone throughout my basketball journey has been unique in the sense that I've learned from a lot other cultures that have helped me understand. That's probably where I sit, and I found myself to be a role model not only for Indigenous people back home, but Indigenous people throughout the world. So
you mentioned your parents before, and I know I've seen you talk about this before, but in terms of the notion of Australia repairing these relationships, I guess, is extra special. I know your mum was a member of the Stolen Generation. Like, things like this are deeply personal for you, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely, and everyone's going to have their own opinion or own way to be able to show reconciliation and progress, I guess. For me and the Team Mills Foundation is all about positivity, right, and sharing that positive energy and those good vibes to be able to get to the same part of progress. So these six values of what we have here are very important. And again, I think we're all experienced on our team about how to go about that and make an impact on those people. So look, at the end of the day, there is substance and there is a lot of meaning behind what we do. And now, given a platform and a voice, it's just working out ways to be able to share that positively, so that everyone, people can come together. We can all come together and move forward together.
Growing up, man, what did your mum especially tell you about, her experience, and how has that kind of informed what you do now?
Oh yeah, a lot, mate. I can't, the list is too long in terms of what I've learned from my mum. And it's not like it's an everyday conversation, obviously, but when the time's right to be able to sit down and listen and learn, as a kid growing up was important. But, the first thing and the thing that I'll take forever is understanding who you are and being proud of that. And that goes for everyone and in anything that you do, not just sports, but any field that you wish to try and excel in and be successful. You got to understand who you are, and if you do that and you accept that and you are proud of that fact, mate, you can reach for the stars and land up there somewhere in terms of what you're able to accomplish, because it is very powerful. It's it's culture, it's substance, it's traditions, it's protocols, it's core values. And all of that, if you can hang on to it, you can achieve some pretty cool things.
I just know I've come from an Indigenous background as well, and I just remember hearing stories about what my grandparents went through when they grew up on a mission in Moree, and the kind of the life they live. It almost seems surreal that was 1-2 generations ago. Was that similar for you when you were growing up, hearing about the way your parents grew up?
Yeah, probably at the beginning, not understanding that it wasn't that long ago, and the impact as well. Obviously, I think it takes a sense of growing up and understanding of what really happened to have a greater knowledge, I guess, of what happened. And then when going through it, being able to find ways, right? And that's what basketball has given me. It's given me that mindset and perspective as I've gone and had many teammates and many coaches, and learned that there are other cultures out there and throughout the world that can relate to all of these things, and to be able to learn how to make a positive change, to be able to move forward. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
You mentioned all the things that basketball's given you. Like, obviously, you want to continue to play and win championships, and that's the ultimate goal. But what does Paddy Mills want to do, kind of after basketball? Well, you've done so much, what you've launched already. What's the big goal? With everything you've done so far, is it politics, man? What is it?
Who knows, mate? Well, hopefully that's not for a long time yet, and there's still a number of years left in the skinny legs here to be able to play basketball. But who knows, mate? I think what we've just launched is a taste of probably what's to come after basketball, because there is a lot of work to do in certain areas to be able to create pathways, create opportunities, so people, Indigenous people throughout many fields can be able to be successful and excel in their given fields and interests. So if it's just that one thing, that there's going to be a lot of work that I'm excited to get involved with once basketball's done.
And I read something about, wasn't it your old band? You work with the United Nations or something? Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, so Dad came down from the Torres Strait to Canberra to be able to help with education in the Torres Strait, and that was the start of it all. And then that evolved into bigger and better things in terms of truly making an impact on Indigenous people and Indigenous communities throughout Australia. So he was. He done a lot, mate. His resume in terms of that space and then how he's given back in that way, I won't be ever able to touch, but at least through basketball and through sport, it's kind of my way of being able to hopefully do the same thing.
Really, you don't think you'll be in the same stratosphere as him?
Nah, man, I'm too comfy in just normal shirts and put my hat backwards. I don't know about the suits and ties.
So I just find it fascinating, man, that the way you've cultivated Indigenous culture at the Spurs. Like, this is a $1 billion organization in America, and the way you've kind of made them look at Indigenous culture in Australia, which is something they really have no right to be interested in. But can you talk to me about how the kind of way Greg Popovich has kind of helped cultivate that for you at the team?
Oh, look, it's all relative, right? Like, there's a culture at the San Antonio Spurs that was already built by the time I got there. But it was something that I could relate to and something that I could connect to. And again, a lot of those core values, were the same or similar to the core values that I was taught growing up and that, my family, my culture have. So to be able to walk in a professional basketball club and feel that same sort of connection was a great feeling, but obviously, unbelievable at the same time. And I think that's, more than half the reason why I've been there for so long and I'm still there now. But in terms of the connection with, Indigenous people, right? It's that knowledge first and foremost that, our Coach Pop is able to teach everyone worldly knowledge, current knowledge, and really get to us players the understanding of there's more out there than just basketball. And if you open up your horizons, that's really where you're going to learn things, and culture fits into all of those things. But then there's the relationship to Indigenous people, my background, and Indigenous people in America. And there are Indigenous Aboriginal people in San Antonio, so there's that connection there as well. And that's where I've really felt the awareness of the impact that I'm having on other Indigenous cultures around the world just by carrying myself the way that I do. And that's pretty cool, to be honest.
Yeah, like I was reading about the time Pop, spoke about Mabo and all of that, and then you have an Indigenous Night now. That's right, isn't it? You have an Indigenous Night actually in a game every year.
Yeah, we had the first NBA Indigenous Night earlier this season, which was really cool. And we were able to create a platform and a voice for the Indigenous people of San Antonio, Tup, Hilam, Kwawi-Tekan Nation, to be able to showcase their culture and everything that they mean to San Antonio and that South Texas region. So, look, it will be pretty cool if, I'll be able to find a way to get, Indigenous people from other NBA cities and teams to be able to jump on board in this kind of movement, I guess, because it's something that it'd be pretty cool to be recognised throughout the league, and it's something that they've shown quite interest in. And again, the feedback just from the one, Spurs game for Indigenous Night was pretty cool.
I got the Greg Popovich treatment when he was here in Australia. I went to a media conference and asked a question that wasn't really a question, and he gave it to me. Just started, and then it just went viral. People picked it up. It was like him, just one word answer, nah. And I was like, oh, yeah, that was me. That was a real career highlight for me.
Nice.
It was a bit Wayne Bennett-esque, but yeah, man, I just want to get your, I guess, overarching feel on where you think Indigenous kind of Australia is right now, like the position we're in. Because you living in America, you would see a kind of, I guess, the way Black America is, the way Indigenous America is. How are we doing in Australia from what you see over there?
Look, I think it's just being able to find ways, and I'll keep coming back to that because there are ways, right? And I'm watching from afar just as much as everyone else in America is. I get to come back home for, only a couple of weeks out of the year, depending. But look, I think that it's all about finding ways. And this is why Reconciliation Week is so important, because it's about finding ways to be able to bring all people together, right, for one common goal. And that's for the better of our country, and you can pick things, right, like the environment and the land and what we can do to be able to prevent Australian wildfires in the future. There's always Indigenous knowledge that's there to be shared with everyone, to be able to make our country better and to be able to look after it the right way. So look, that's my view on how things are going and what we can do. So I guess that's where I come into the picture, to be able to just piece all of those things together.
Before COVID-19 hit, Paddy Mills did incredible work around Australia's bushfire disaster. Throughout the crisis, he turned his Twitter into a constant stream of information about what was happening on the ground. And during the NBA's week-long All-Star break, he even shot home to provide relief to affected areas. Have a listen to some of the interviews Paddy did on the ground while he was here in Australia and in those communities, and then listen to my chat with him about that time.
So now that we're here and we're on ground in Australia, this trip is about, number one, bringing people together, unity, to be able to help people that have been affected, and to be able to do it in a way that hopefully we can, not only bring supplies that are needed, but, a sense of hope for these people that hopefully we can bring. This is a very, genuine trip that we want to help these people. We want to be able to do, you know, what we can for these people. And at the end of the day, that is what this trip is about. It's about them. It's about how we can help them to hopefully be able to get them to stand back on their feet and continue living in this, you know, great land. This wildlife is our identity. The flora and fauna of this country is our identity. We need to have the same urgency to be able to look after these animals as we do ourselves.
Your time here for the bushfires, man, like, what was that like? I was amazed the way you kind of like took over your Twitter and just made it like a bushfire information center, and all the way from, you know, the US, and you're focusing on basketball as well. But like your time here when you came and toured the area, what was that like?
Yeah, heavy, emotional, very emotional, and lots of different emotions too at the same time, right? Like, you know, we've never been back home during All-Star break before, just because of how long the flight is for such a short time. But look, we were, you know, we were affected. We weren't affected as bad as the communities that were in the midst of the whole thing. But for us to try and work out a way where we can give back and, you know, make a genuine effort to give back, we try to do all we can. So we jumped on a plane. You know, we went into communities with a massive truck to be able to drop off and deliver supplies. We put in water panels to be able to help communities that didn't have water, clean drinking water. We helped in a wildlife sanctuary to be able to build wombat and bird enclosures, as well as bringing some light to some Indigenous land management projects that are going on. So we kind of hit a lot in such a short time, and a lot of emotions, you know, a lot of sad emotions, but a lot of joy too, that I think we were able to bring to some people that were needing, you know, good vibes and to be able to smile again. So yeah, a lot of tears, a lot of happy tears, a lot of hugs, but that's one that will probably, you know, sit on me and the team that were involved for a long time.
Did they know you were coming, or you just kind of rocked up and like, oh, there's Paddy Mills? Yeah,
we just rocked up, mate. Like I said, I think for those situations, you know, it's just about a helping hand, right? And being there for them when they need it the most, and finding ways to be able to make that genuine connection and know that, you know, we're here for no other reason but to help you, you know. And that was that, and people welcomed us in when they felt that with open arms, and there was that genuine connection with those people. So that's what we're all about, and you know, you'll feel that all over the Team Mills Foundation. That's who we are. You know, that's who I am. That's who my family is, and that's who you know, all the members of this team is all about.
During his time in Australia last year, Mills also travelled all over the country to remote Indigenous communities to install clean water drinking panels. Now, despite being a first world country, many people are shocked when they find out that Australia has parts of it that don't have access to the basic human right that is clean drinking water. And Australia being the driest continent in the world, Paddy wanted to provide some relief to these communities. Have a listen to some more interviews he did during his time in these communities installing these clean water drinking panels. Even hear some of the locals talk about the effect that it's had on the community, and then have a listen to my chat with Paddy about the experience.
You have an American water company that has brought me to Cunnamulla, where we've put in panels to be able to provide clean drinking water for the school and for the whole community. And just saying that, you know, you kind of get chills. It is a panel that creates its own water from the moisture and sun and the conditions here, so that by the time it goes through the reservoir and the minerals and it comes out tasting so nice, it just ends up being local water. There's no importing of water from overseas and in plastic bottles and all of this kind of stuff. It's local, it's your water, and that's the best thing about this whole thing.
At the moment, you know, with the panels that has been given to us and donated, you know, it gives us 900 litres of water per month. Now, that doesn't give the water to everyone, but what it does, it helps. It helps our elders who can't travel to get water. It helps our young families. It really makes a big difference to the lives of those people in care.
It's important for these kids to have water first and foremost for their health and to survive. It's such a necessity, and people won't realise it until they don't have it, how important it is. You know, all the focus is got to be on kids, and, you know, without water, you get stopped pretty early down the chain, you know.
Also, when you were here, I think you launched your clean community water project. I saw, and you visited, communities out in the isolated communities. And I actually went out to a community last year, and the one thing that struck me most was like, bring your own water. There's no clean drinking water in terms of for us, and I'm like, this is not a third world country. This is Australia. You know, I haven't left Australia. How do I not have clean water? And I think that was a shock to me. Is that what that drove you to push that project forward?
Oh, it's always been a known fact, right? Like it's not a surprise that that's out there. Again, it's just me being able to get to a point, with a lot of helping hands to be able to make that impact. We can't forget at the end of the day that I play basketball and I've got a job to do, but having a team behind me to really make an impact, number one, is the way to go. And then once pulling the team together, it's about, okay, how can we do this? So, water and the lack of clean drinking water in Indigenous communities around Australia is really bad. So we partnered with Zero Mass Water to be able to install source hydro panels into these communities, over 6 communities throughout Australia in different states. And mate, the feeling that we got just over a glass of clean drinking water, mate, is unheard of. And the satisfaction that we got to know that, we were doing something pretty big in this community is what keeps us going, and at the end of the day, clean drinking water is a human right, and if we're aware that there are people out there that don't have that right, then you try to do things to lend a helping hand, and that's what we've done.
How do you describe going out to community to people? Like, people ask me about it, what it's like, and it's kind of a surreal kind of feeling, isn't it? Places like that, they're amazing, they're beautiful, but they're, also have their issues as well. How do they sit with you when you're there?
Oh, my feeling is home. That's probably where I feel the most comfortable, right? Is out in country, is out in community with people that, are familiar with me. It's what I miss the most about not being in Australia. So whenever I get that opportunity to go back to community and spend time with them is really important to me. But it's the homely feeling that I get when I'm in those situations. In that, there's no other way to kind of describe or explain that feeling. But it's a homely feeling.
Yeah, it's Did you? I noticed when I was out there how much they love basketball. These guys, they love, like, they got pictures of Paul George. They got all the American guys, they know them. Did you notice that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And even the kids that necessarily don't follow NBA and how basketball makes them feel, right? That's pretty powerful. If they're just bouncing a ball around with no shoes on, shooting hoops, all the way up to reading books about basketball, like all of these things, I'm aware of what makes an impact on our community, especially the younger generation that needs it the most. And again, it's all about finding ways to be able to impact them one, because it's they're out there. There's talented kids out there, but even not pointing out the talented ones, right? Everyone needs to be able to have that feeling of joy and happiness and clean drinking water, right? So let's go out and feel all that. So but we've seen a lot of silver and black number 8 jerseys in many communities that have gone around Australia. So that's been pretty cool too.
And some of them could shoot too. Like us, there's little kids as young as like 5, 6, and they were just putting them in from everywhere. I was like, wow, that's amazing. Right. Could have some future NBA stars coming out of there.
That's the plan. That's the plan, mate.
During the COVID break, Paddy also raised $100,000 for women's shelters in Texas by running a coffee drive that also supported local business during the pandemic. Take a listen to his experience with that.
Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, our city here in San Antonio has already seen some alarming numbers that have only increased since the pandemic actually hit. More families were in need of food, the amount of small businesses that have suffered, and domestic violence. What we tried to do in true San Antonio fashion was find a way to bring people together to make a positive impact in our community. So the model that was created was to be able to choose 8 local participating coffee shops, coffees, hot chocolate, Topo Chicos, pastries, merchandise, anything throughout all these 8 coffee shops. The total revenue, my wife and I would not only match that total number, but we would double that and donate that to the battered women and children's shelter. What we need to do now to be able to come together, stay healthy and stay strong, is to be able to put women and children and their safety first.
Man, I saw as well in San Antonio recently, you did a coffee drive to raise money for women's shelters, and tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, obviously, the whole world's been affected by the COVID pandemic, but us in San Antonio, in Texas, being San Antonio players and me being the longest tenured member of the San Antonio Spurs now, there's a responsibility, right, to be able to lead the way, lead by example, and look after our community. I think, going back to my core values, we have a greater sense of community. I have a great sense of community and how to help, first and foremost. So to be able to come up with a cool little campaign, so what we chose to do was select 8 local small businesses, which ended up being coffee shops, to be able to drive as much traffic to their local business as much as we can, and the money that they were able to make was then donated to a women's and children's shelter for the domestic violence. So again, it was another issue within our community. So for us to be able to make an impact on that issue was awesome. We raised over $100,000, which is cool.
Yeah, that's unreal, man. That's great stuff. I won't keep you much longer. I just want to finish off with a few basketball questions, if that's all right. Andrew Bogut kind of announced that he was going to take some time to think about his future. You've obviously played a lot of basketball with him over the years. Your thoughts on, you want the big man to keep playing?
Oh, of course, mate. Everyone does, especially him, right? His presence just on any team is always going to be, always going to have an impact. Obviously, he's been through a number of injuries through his career, and he's a proud father now, as well with his kids. So, it's the part of growing up and going through life, I guess.
And what about just looking forward to the Olympics, man? Obviously not happening this year. I guess you love representing Australia, the thought of not getting to do it this year, but obviously next year it's on. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, good. Again, it's a waiting game. Obviously it's on, but in terms of mindset and the pure joy to be able to have the opportunity to represent Australia at some point again is definitely gets you excited. So we'll reschedule our plans like we have for Tokyo 2021, and we'll roll the ball out and ready to go.
Do you think about this could possibly be your last one, or are you thinking, no, I've got heaps, I've got a few more left in me?
Oh, I don't know about heaps, but we'll cross this one off the list hopefully coming up, and then we'll replan. But it's one of those things that you wish you could go to an Olympics every year, but I guess that's what makes it so prestigious and so fortunate.
What about chasing that elusive medal, man? So so close last time, and probably heartbreakingly close. You want it, don't you?
Tunnel vision, mate. Locked and loaded. Coming for it. yeah, that's at the forefront of my mind before anything else.
And as you said, this is like a time where you guys really have that team where it's almost like you expect it to be there, don't you?
There's an expectation, which is good, but there's also the fire that's built up from our campaigns that we've had in the past. So we definitely have a support system and the group to be able to do so. But again, it's just getting that opportunity to get back out there with those colours and get the job done, essentially.
Are you getting in big Benny Simmons' ear and just say, come on? I don't know if what he said about playing, and it's obviously pushed back, but it'd be great to see him in the green and gold.
Oh, definitely, mate. I don't think he needs, a lot of people telling him, because he has that feeling. Knowing him, he has that feeling, himself. So, there'll be no doubt, but we'll see when it comes to it.
Perfect, bro. You're a legend. Thanks for making time to do this today and talk about all that great stuff. Your inspiration, bro. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it, mate. Good chats.
Thanks, Paddy. See ya.
Thanks for listening, guys. We've got plenty more episodes coming your way very soon. Don't forget to follow the Refuse to Lose podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We look forward to talking to you again soon.